The morning stalking has begun. Everybody's here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoa! Nice and high. Pumpkin, please don't. Pumpkin, come on. Could you not? You don't have to tear up the chair. An unnecessary close-up of me popping open my morning bubbles. Hey, what's up, garden friends? Jeff here. Hope you're doing well. I'm great. I don't know what's going to happen in this video. It is the week of Thanksgiving. I need some sunglasses. I think I left my glasses in the car. Morning, little kiss. Thank you. Morning of December 20th. Family is on their way. They start rolling into town in a few hours for the holidays. I'm so excited. And, well, that does mean that I'm not going to have much time to vlog this week, which is, I mean, just a wonderful thing. Sit back and just have all kinds of fun with the family. But y'all expect a video every Saturday, and I give you a video every Saturday. So here's the whatever's gonna happen with that. I'm not really focused on plant things right now, because I got lots of gifts to wrap and things to do. Do you need me to come down there? Of course he does. I have to hold this guy's hand. He can't go potty unless I come down there with him. I'm coming. You can go do your thing. There you go. Go potty. Go on. There you go. Good boy. There you go. Off to the grass. Go on. That's not where we go potty. Keep going. Good boy. December garden tour. I think that might not be a very exciting garden tour because, just death. Not death. They're dormant. I have to be careful. Some of y'all freak out about things when those of you who are more new and don't understand. Yeah, that was just a joke. Things aren't dead. They're going dormant. Oh, on that note, somebody just went nuts in the comments a few weeks ago when I was moving plants inside because they couldn't stand the dirt in the background and the brown palm fronds. And I haven't responded to that. All I have to say is, yeah, I was moving several hundred plants around. There was dirt. Come on. And I don't trim off palm fronds until they have browned all the way. If there's any green left on them, they stay. Might be an eyesore, but it's the best thing to do for the plant. So, I guess it just isn't the place for you if brown leaves are going to bother you. Because in nature, things have brown leaves. Things are not always picture-perfect Instagram, crap. Am I grumpy? Is that what happened? Why am I so defensive? I don't know. We'll just move on to some gardening things. Oh, Turbo, let me give you your privacy. Interesting growth habit difference between these two scipensis. You aren't scipensis. These are viburnums. Those are scipensis over there, laurels. The viburnums here. One of them's like, hey, let me go up there. And the other one's like, I'm going to reach out over here. No, I planted a few feet apart. Interesting. This is a time of year, though, where I walk around and I get really happy about evergreen decisions and things that I've done for winter interest. Because it makes such a big difference in the garden. Last spring, planted up this Hollywood. Nope, not a Hollywood. It's a holly, screenplay holly. There we go. So, screenplay, Hollywood, you get it. It's a fast-growing holly. Pardon my ringtone. It's the holidays, right? Fast-growing holly, and it really, really is. That thing put up easily a good 2 feet in its first year in the ground. But it is a zone 7. I'm a 6B. We have been moved to 7A, but I don't buy it. It will drop below 0 this year. It does every year. So we'll see how that does. But if it does well this winter, then I might get a couple more of those. I think they might look good just dotted back against the house here. What's nice about those hollies is that they can take the sun or the shade, which is awesome because in the wintertime, they're going to get a ton of sun. And then up until, I don't know, midsummer, somewhere around early July until whenever we have frost, there's these big banana clumps here and they just shade the heck out of it. So I planted that and I got to enjoy it, and then the bananas grew up and I was like, I don't know where it is. I can't see it anymore. Had to wait until the bananas got cut back to see what it was doing, and it looked fine, totally untouched, which is just wonderful. And the sable miners, look at them. They're so big. So big. So much growing. The Monstera trifoliata. That's going to be really pretty. That gets a couple more feet on it when those curtains are down, looking out that window. These branches are so pretty when they get ice and snow on them. This is, if you don't know, it's a Japanese bitter orange. And this one had a lot of drought stress this year. It was its first year in the ground, and we just had that horrible drought. So I'm very hopeful that it'll make it through its first winter. I don't know. I may end up bagging it just to be safe. I have a bunch of leaf mulch pulled around the base there. Needle palm. Gotta love a good needle palm. It's a plenty warm enough spot. I had a flying dragon, that's what this variety's called, of Japanese orange planted, I don't know, about 8 feet that way, maybe 10 feet over there for many, 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 many years. It was never bothered by the cold. And it's colder down there. This area right here, it's where the snow melts first and things just do really well that are more tender, right? I mean, I don't even need to mulch these cannas. Actually, I didn't mulch these cannas this year. I let the leaf mulch on them, and that'll be fine, but I didn't go through with hardwood mulch. That was just for the sables, the miners over here. Yeah, their stems should be a more glossy green. I have another one. Let me show you the other one. The other one was getting less sun, so it didn't suffer quite as much drought stress. Yeah, see, it's a deeper green. It has more of a gloss to it. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of that back on the other one next year. We'll have some time to put its roots down in the ground. Yeah, fingers crossed. Also, I have some beautiful St. John's wort down here that I planted last year. And that'll stay mostly evergreen, if not fully evergreen. This one has a really pretty foliage. Brigadoon St. John's wort has a really nice chartreusey foliage on it. Not this time of year, but that's going to be pretty. It's going to grow as a ground cover in here. What does it say, like 8 inches high? I don't know. I don't see it on the tag. But it doesn't get very tall. It's more of a spreader. Oh, an aspidita. Aspidita. Did not say that right. Aspidistra elatior. This one's called Snowcap. Isn't it pretty? It's on its 3rd year. This thing just had 10 inches of snow on it. Temperatures down to about 7 degrees. Looks fine. It'll probably die back by the time spring comes around. The Florida Sunshine Elysium did not do as well with the cold and the snow. Nor did the one back here. It just died. That's when people say, oh, you're zone 7. Like, I don't think so. I can't grow a Florida Sunshine Elysium or crepe myrtles. I don't know about that. Straighten this guy out. We had some crazy winds out here the other day. Like just blustery, violent winds. It was obnoxious. Blow over my snowman. He's over there now. Looks like I can blow over that fountain. Oh no, I hope the top that's not broken. Everything got blown around. Really strong winds. The greenhouse stayed in place. Oh, I hope that didn't break. I didn't know this even could get blown around. Oh, and now it's frozen like that. That's cool. It looks good like that. Come down here, see if this is still in good shape. I never thought the wind would be strong enough to blow this over. Oh, shoot. Well, I'm sure it'll still look nice. Maybe I can glue it back together or something. I never even thought, because of the proportion of this, that would get blown over. It'll still be pretty without the very, very tippy top on it. Like I said, I do think I could probably do something with this. I'll have to make sure it's really tight seal. That's a bummer. I'll put that up there. So don't forget about that later. I did some cutting back in here. I need to do some more. I think the hostas are finally ready to get pulled. Everfall's Carex though. Look at that. Awesome. Awesome plant. Highly, highly recommend you use these in your containers because, well, they make for a beautiful spiller. And then pretty evergreen. These things have been through it. Same with the heucheras that are back here and the fern and yellow twig dogwood. I'm so glad I did these containers. I'll leave this chair pulled out. I got a heater for that. Actually, I think the heater's here. Let me go look. There's never an outlet where I need an outlet. The number of extension cords I go through out here. This is a bird bath heater. It looks like a stone. And it just sits there on the ice. The birds can sit on it while they feed, which I think they enjoy. See, that's right there. So a little bit of heat can move through, so there's some separation. They're just good to have. You want to have some water out for the birds. I mean, I do. I don't know what you want to do. Let's see here. I went and plugged the fountain back in. Last night was the last of the cold nights for a while. It's supposed to be like 70 on Christmas. What? I think the way I ended the last video was saying that, oh, it's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be a really nice cloudy day. No, it's supposed to be like 70 and sunny. It's break all kinds of records. Oh, well. I mean, that'll be nice too. We have this nice seating area out here. Can build a fire. Kids can play in the hot tub. So, you know, okay. That'll be fun. Still have a strand of lights I'd like to put up. Haven't gotten around to it yet because, you know, we had all that snow and then everything melted and it was just gross out here. Things are starting to dry off now, finally. All the shrubbery's looking pretty good. This one died off during the summer from all that drought stress. So I could probably go ahead and pull it. I don't really want to pull it, though. I don't want to leave a hole in the soil. I don't have any soil out here. So I don't know. Just pretend it's not there. So pretty. Love that. Look at it. Look at it. Atlas cedar. Beautiful plant. Oh, and the windmill palm. Move that back out. I think, in the last video. Pretty sure you saw that. It took me 6 of these to get this guy watered in. That's about 24 gallons if they were filled all the way up. So thirsty. How's it feeling now? Oh, this is such a nice soil blend. It's soft. I just love that, a soft and silky soil. And the bulbs are coming up. That's normal. About to have a rude awakening. We'll figure it out. This guy's doing great. Headed out here down to 9 degrees before I moved it in. Windmill palms can take an awful lot of cold. They can go way colder than 9 degrees. But with this one being in a container, it's more exposed. And I've talked about this before. Where I live, you just can't buy them at a good size. Very rarely do you even see them for sale. When you do, they're in a 3-gallon container. They usually cost anywhere from $30 to $150. Very small plants. So in order to have a nice size windmill palm up here, you either got to drive down there and get them, or you have to wait 10 years and grow it yourself. So it's just one of the things where I'm not going to risk it. I know that this could take a lot more cold than I make it, but it's just not worth it. I've waited so long to get this thing to a nice size. I don't want any setbacks, and it doesn't seem to have cared at all, which is to be expected. So the longer you have them, and you get them from a smaller size and grow them up into your cold climate, or grow them up while having to experience your cold climate, that made more sense, then they tend to have more cold hardiness. If I were to go down south to Florida, Alabama, Georgia, somewhere, and buy one that was this size, which is, I don't know, 5 feet clear trunk on there, maybe a little bit more than that, then bring it back up here, that plant would not do well in the winter time. It would eventually someday, but I would want to keep it containerized and expose it to more and more cold every single year, right? And just slowly lower how much cold it can take. But if you just start them with the small ones, I do the same thing, but they grow up into it, and they just, I don't know, it always works out better for me that way. This has been driving me crazy. I've got to find a pair of clippers and cut through, or a saw. I need a saw. My clippers can cut through everything, but whatever went on here, it got really hard, and it's staying there. Don't worry about moving the windmill palm in all that quickly, because it's supposed to be pretty warm for a while, at least a couple of weeks. Let's see what's going on here in the greenhouse. I probably need to water in here. It's been a few days since I had time to come out in here and check everything out. You want to go in? Go see your fish? Go on. Oh, it feels so nice in here. Heaters haven't been running. They haven't needed to be on. Well, I have this one set for, I don't remember, it's whatever the lowest setting is. I think it was like 50 maybe. And so that's just turning on if it does drop below 50 in here. So far, the Chinese fan palms are doing well. There's new growth coming out of the middles. That's what I wanted to see. I have had to trim off a bunch of stuff that I'm pretty sure is just from before the greenhouse got put up over them. So you can see, like, back there's some stuff I need to get to. That's all dried up that I'll cut out. Now I really think it's more a matter of just making sure I can keep everything well hydrated in here, because it is getting quite warm on certain days. Like, really for the next several days, I'll probably just leave that door open, because, you know, it's a greenhouse. It can get pretty dang hot in here. Green stock got moved in rather late, but it's on the rebound. You know, I don't expect it to look fantastic this winter, but enough hopefully to keep some of the things going. Been giving it, well, not been giving it, give it one big drink, and it's responding well to that. Have the Pindu in here. I have my more, I would say, Mediterranean style plants in here. So the olive, this is not a Mediterranean, these are from South America, but they can take the cool, dry temperatures, right, as long as it's dry. I have a Yucca rostrata back there. And I also have, you know, there's some little windmill palms in here, some little babies. So, you know, this is about the size that big one was when I got it. One of these little guys. It's had to grow it out of all my little other sables. Not sables. One sable here, a sable here. This is a Blackberryana. And this one is a one from Plant Delights called Me Too. It's been very, very vigorous. And these windmill palms, do I not have any tags on you guys? I was going to say I saved your tags. We potted these last spring. The Tessin, right. They just have a really nice foliage on them. Hopefully they'll be fairly cold hardy. We will see. And pretty good growers. Yucca aloifolia variegata down there in the corner. And then got this guy. I can go ahead and pull this out. This is Litzmachia from last year. That doesn't need to be in here. Try and keep as many dried up leaves and things off the ground and away from the heater as I can. And I have some succulent containers that are in here. They took a bunch of cold, but they'll be okay. They'll bounce back. Mint over there. Oh, the fig. It's a good spot for the fig, right? On the oleander. Beautiful oleander. This one is the Austin Pretty Limits from Proven Winners. Supposedly just a powerhouse for blooming. I haven't noticed that. It's just grown like any old oleander I have ever grown as far as the flower production is concerned. However, last year I had that set up with just some regular, just pink, probably the Calypso pinks, and a white oleander that I don't know the name of. Those things died like a month before that one showed any sign of cold damage, and it barely showed any cold damage. So I would say that's a good one to try if you're on the border of where you can grow the oleanders, like maybe 7B into 7A. Oleanders, by the way, their roots can take a lot of cold. So even where I live, we can grow oleander. Nobody does, but you can, and they'll just die down to the ground in the winter like you would have with a butterfly bush of Buddleia. And they'll regrow in the spring and summer. Well, really not until summer. They're late to emerge. As long as things are nice and toasty, you want to have them in a location that's getting a lot of sun to really wake those roots up and get them moving. The juice usually isn't worth the squeeze, though. The reasoning for that is actually similar to what I'll talk about these Chinese fan palms in a moment. I've talked about this all before. But for me, anyways, whenever I've done that, I rarely get more than 3 to 5 stems to come up. And they max out around 3 feet tall. So they end up looking kind of like they would when you buy them from, like, I don't know, when you see them at a big box store, an oleander at a big box store, it's usually in like a 10-inch pot. There's like 3 to maximum 5 just really long stems in there. And that's about what you end up with them. And that can be pretty if you like that. That's a wonderful option, I suppose, like that glossy foliage. But there are better options out there, right? Like some of the milkweeds. The Asclepias tuberosa has a very similar growth habit, but also smaller, and it's very perennial in most places, and good for the butterflies. Incarnata as well. Yeah, nice shape to them. So that's the same thing with these Chinese fan palms. They can take a good amount of cold at their root. The foliage, it suffers, right, from frost. They don't want that. But their roots can take a lot. So I can grow the Chinese fan palms here. You can stick them in the ground in a spot that's nice and warm with well-drained soil and just expect the entire plant to die back to the ground. You want to throw a good at least 12 inches of mulch on top of that area and about a 3-foot area around that spot, at least 12 inches. And then in the early summer, depending on where you live, you got to have heat. As long as you have the heat, it'll wake up and you'll have some really pretty glossy fan-shaped leaves that pop up from the ground. But I rarely would get more than maybe 6 to 10 by the end of the year leaves. And, you know, they only stick up about yay high. They're really shiny and really pretty, so it's neat looking. And it was worth doing that back in the day when they would sell Chinese fan palms. You'd get them in a 10-inch container for like $7 a pop at the big box stores. I'm talking, you know, prior to 2020. You don't see that anymore. And then it was worth trying because it's like, okay, well, it's $7 and I can plant, you know, maybe 3 here, 3 to 5, plant a swoop of them and then cut them back to the ground after the frost hits them and mulch them really heavily. And then if I want to wait until mid-June, which is what you have to do, then you have some nice pretty glossy leaves in that spot. Just matter, do you want to wait until that late in the year, right? The further south you are, chances are the better luck you're going to have with that, right? Or just the more mild your temperatures and the warmer your springs. That all plays a big role in how those end up rebounding and doing for you. So as far as this greenhouse, hi baby. As far as, it looks like I don't have pants on. I do. I just have my shorts on. That's in the grow space. It's pretty warm in the garage. I may end up moving some more plants in here. I was thinking the bamboo palms, I may go ahead and bring into this spot and put them where I have some of these windmill palms sitting, and then take these windmill palms and put them along this back wall here. The reason I do that is because the windmill palms can take more cold, and the closer to that back wall, the more cold there might be. Maybe, although, actually, this back wall is probably fairly sheltered, because right behind this wall, I'm talking just like an inch or two away, is a very large brick wall. And that brick wall is going to provide some insulation. There's going to be less drafts coming through there. I think about that. Anyways, the bamboo palms, they can take the cooler, drier conditions that are in here. It's not dry. There's plenty of humidity. In fact, every time there's a breeze, it just rains water droplets onto my head. So the fountain and the palm thing are working out well in here in that regard. But I have so many bamboo palms in the garage, the grow space, that I could move out here. And I think they would probably do well. And then I also have those spindle palms, which are taking up a lot of room on the table in there. And they can go fairly cold as long as they stay dry. So as long as it never drops below, I would say 28 in here, which I would want it to stay above 28 in here regardless for the foliage on the Chinese fan palms, then those would be okay. I don't know. I got those all on clearance, so it wouldn't be a devastating loss financially if I were to lose them, but I just really love spindle palms and I don't want anything to happen to them. The Chinese fan palm stayed in here because, well, there wasn't really another option. I had thought about just growing them as an annual and be like, well, I'll try something different next year, but they just got so big and so pretty, and I needed a greenhouse to put out here for all of these plants that would normally go into my garage and take up space that don't need to be in the garage, because these can take the cold. So, I mean, it's a greenhouse. It's supposed to stay warm, but there's only so much this dinky layer of plastic can do, right? So I only put things in here that ideally can go down into the teens shortly. The Chinese fan palms, well, that would be better for them to not go into the teens, but as long as they're dry, as in the soil isn't like wet, or the crown's not wet and the foliage isn't wet, if it's very, very brief, I'm talking like 18, they might be okay. But the spindles, I don't think those would be okay. The bamboo palms would be okay. They would be a little bbit rough looking afterwards, but I think they'd be okay. In fact, I think I even have another Chinese fan palm in there in the grow space that I could move out here. Yeah, it's not that there's too much in the grow space. It's, well, I guess there might be. We'll go in there and I'll show you if you don't know what I'm talking about in the grow space. But the more room there is for air to get around the plants, the better. And the more room for Jeffs to get around the plants, the better. That felt gross. I was trying to be funny. It's nice to be able to move around in there some more because I always have to deal with pest problems in the wintertime. And if things are tightly packed together, you have more pest problems. So getting the spindle palms moved out here would probably be a good idea. You know what? If I were to move the spindle palms out here, then why couldn't I have the foxtail palms out here? They're pretty, like, neck and neck with the types of cold and conditions. They can take the foxtails slightly less, but just slightly. There might be people who disagree with me on that. But typically, I've always left my spindles out to upper 20s, lower 30s. I let them take some cold, and that's always been fine. Might have some burning on the foliage. Remember, I don't freak out about brown foliage. To me, it's part of the process, right? Learning about their hardiness and what they can take. I wouldn't be able to tell you these things if I didn't do those projects because I was afraid of my leaves turning brown. It's usually been upper 20s. So something like a bottle palm, I wouldn't do that. I think the cold sort of to bottle out to is about 33 or 34. Just because they're so much more prone to rot. Both those hyophorbaes, which is the type of palm, they're very prone to... Let's go to the grow space. We're going to talk about these tropical plants. Let's go there. We'll wrap up what's going on outside, and then we'll pick up in the grow space. I have a few shrubs sitting here that I need to move in there, but it's actually not really cold enough to move them in, so I'm letting them stay out here. We had a lot of rain the other day, which is just great. We really needed it. I'm hopeful with all that snow and then this rain that will really get the ground nice and saturated. A slow trickle of moisture to help replenish, because it's just such a dry summer and fall, a very dry summer and fall. I think really the only thing that's left out here of any interest to me anyways are the needle palms, which are just doing great. I love them. They are huge. My babies. They've gotten so big. These are going to be such a pain in the butt to wrap and protect this year. This is from this end to that end. That's well over 10 feet. I have bags I put around them, but I think I might have to start getting my frost protection and rolls and wrapping them, because it's really difficult to get the bags on these things. Yeah, doing great. I mean, that leaf up there, that's way taller than I am. It's so crazy to think these were, I think they were in 7-gallon containers when I got them. They were about 30 inches high. That was 2008, I think. Yeah, they're doing great. And then the magnolia right here, Baby Grand, which is a very special magnolia. It stays very small, like 7 to 10 feet. Hopefully it makes it through its first winter. I think that's a good spot for it. It's going to be protected between those two needle palms. In here, have the Everfalls Carex and Independence Boxwoods, one of the new gens, maintaining its color very, very nicely. Its sheen and its green. Looking really good. Boxwoods and containers don't always do that hot. For me, anyways. But it's we still got all of January and February ahead of us, so hopefully they'll make it through that and continue looking nice, not browning out or getting freeze-dried, because that happens with them. And juniper back here. Yeah, really pretty. This is a Royal Raindrops crab. No, that's a Royal Raindrops crab apple. This is a Color Burst? Yeah. No, Coral Burst crab apple. I really hope these do well this year. Crab apples in containers was an experiment. I mean, I can think of a lot of other trees would be more pretty to keep in containers, but I love the flowers on crab apples during the springtime. And I thought, well, you know what? These were on clearance at Home Depot. They're super cheap, so why not? And it's nice to have some more structure out here during the wintertime. Typically during the winter, there's nothing here. Just this furniture, which I put covers on, but on a new rug, I tried to make things more appropriate for winter out here. It was a lot of blue and intensity. Popped in the fountain, which normally is standing upright and sounds nice. Chances are January through March, that will be unplugged, and I'll just have a little bit of water down with that defroster for the birds. Because, you know, it's going to be freezing. It's going to be way too cold. Can't have that thing up and running all winter long. Overall, I just like this space. You know, this was kind of a last-minute decision right before we had all those snowstorms a few months ago to come in here and change up the look. So there would be an area out here that just looks nice and inviting with the fire pit and just gives you more of that winter vibe. And just makes more sense. A comfortable place to be when we're outside. Tried to mix in, you know, the red twig dogwood and different various foliages on the evergreen, stuff like the Alberta spruce over here, red twig, a dried panicum grass, which I know drives some people crazy. I like them until they start to flop, and you really should tie them or cut them down. So I'm going to have to make that decision here when we start to get cold, especially when we get cold and wet in a few weeks. Right now it's still holding up right, and the birds just love the seed heads. So I don't mind it. I think it's kind of nice having that dried structure. There's something about it that just reminds you, oh yeah, it's winter. I'm not just sitting someplace with a lot of evergreens. Does that make any sense? I don't know. It just feels more gardeny. The Christmas tree's temporary. It's just an extra Christmas tree I had, so I brought it out here. That's not going to stay out here. This one probably won't stay out here either. At the very least, the bells will come off. Roses are looking pretty good considering the cold that they've had. Roses will stay green for me for a pretty long time, but the sharp swings, yeah, they're not into that. They're fine. They'll survive. It's not going to kill them. They don't look too hot. Look better next year. Yeah, cut Gloriosa over here. I need to come out here with my blower and get the center of that cleaned out. I don't let this go below 0 either, especially if it's going to be wet. If that happens, I'll just scoot onto the greenhouse. Yeah, because they're tough, but it's in a container, so I have to watch out for that. And then everything over here, this is a lot of natives. Got the Japanese maple in there. Frickin' vines. I have to get that out of there before it takes over. Yeah, no. I was going to see if there was anything on the coralberry, but doesn't look like it. I think the wildlife is eating up all the berries, which is good. That's why I put it there. I wanted them to eat the berries. That was the whole point. Then everything else, you know, it's just shrubbery and things to try and make things look nice. That looks great, doesn't it? Oh, this guy. His feet fall off fairly easily. See, he still has them. Also see, lost an ornament. Sheesh. Just gotta love picking up something with electronics in it that's dumping water all over the place. There we go. Snowman's back up. This guy right here, we just do one of those. Lemon cypress. Got an azalea here. This is an Independence, right? Or is it a Freedom? Yeah, Independence. See the color? They almost look fake. Really nice full habit too. Gonna see how they do this winter. And then more just evergreens, right? This is a sugar and spice thuya, which is one of my favorites because of that warm tone to the wood. I think that it's so pretty. Really nice color. And this is a Hortsman Atlas. So it's like the Atlas blue cedar, but seeds much smaller. It's actually worth talking about. So the regular Atlas, the blue cedar, they get huge, you know, 60, 70 feet tall over many years. I don't know if I've ever seen one where I live over like 30 or 40 feet. But in areas like Pacific Northwest, places with cooler nighttime temperatures and good rainfall, probably get a good size out of them. This one right here is more appropriate for most gardens because it only gets, like I said, maybe 12 feet at the max. I wouldn't be surprised there's some that go a little bit higher than that. But I rarely see them over like 7 to 8 feet tall where I live. So you get that structure of the blue cedar, but it fits into the garden better. So nice. Over here, it's just the sable miners and another needle palm hanging out over there. I am loving the heptacodium. I like the shape and the structure. Right now it's wrapped in lights. You can't tell much about it. Okay, on to the grow space. Oh, houseplants. Or really, the only houseplants I have inside right now are poinsettias. So we got the variegated guy right here, which is one of my favorites. Have some waxed amaryllis bulbs that I put into this little greenhouse thing full of ornaments. One is doing a lot, the other one not so much. And these guys, their flowers did not last long at all. I swear these opened up about a week ago and they're done already. These are the ones that are in these plastic containers. So it's not a wax bulb, it's a plastic thing. And it has been so freaking hard to keep these things hydrated, by the way. I do not like this setup with the bulbs because it's just really hard to tell if there's water in there. You don't want to put too much water in. And I could pop a hole in there. It's what I usually do with a self-watering container. But I think that also somewhat defeats the purpose too. So I don't know if I'm going to use those next year or not. And yeah, they're really pretty. I mean, look at the size of this. That's freaking huge. It's huge, but weak, and the flowers are just so short-lived on these. Flowers on a lot of amaryllis are typically short-lived, but I feel like those are just to another level. Yeah, another one looking nice. Real pretty. Yep. Lots of flower on there. Curly poinsettia, I don't remember what it's called. The amaryllis that I put up in a video, I don't know, very long time ago from Color Blends, they're not doing much of anything. I think they're the slowest to get going amaryllis that I have ever grown, ever. I've even thinking about taking them out to the grow space and sticking them under a grow light with a heat mat. Just like, would you please just wake up and start growing? Those obviously aren't going to bloom by Christmas. I'd be surprised if those bloom by Valentine's Day at this rate. That's okay. It's nice to have the color throughout the winter, but I mean, come on. Also, I potted that one up in a Christmas container, right? That's not winter. That's Christmas. I'm going to repot that. This one, I don't care. That can stay out here. The little dwarf ZZ plant. Y'all told me the name of it. I don't remember. It's a dwarf ZZ. I did decide to keep it. I'm not going to give it away because it's just too stinking cute. I really do like it. Really, really nice. Another variegated poinsettia back here. They are my favorites. Doing really well. And then an amazel basil over here that looks a little bit rough. I've been having to cut on it an awful lot over here. And I cannot. All of my basils are drying out way too quickly. Way too fast. I don't know why. They're in the same soil blend that I use for all kinds of things that aren't drying out too quickly. I think that they must have some pretty intense root systems in them. So probably first project I'm going to work on in January, once we get through the holidays and have some more free time, it's going to be to go ahead and bump these up into a larger container with some fresh mix, because I have to water these things constantly. And that's not normal for me with basil in the wintertime. Usually in the wintertime, I don't know, I have to water my basils like once every 10 days, something like that. And with these, I say these, there's more out in the grow space. I'm having to water them like every 2 or 3 days probably. So they're happy, they're healthy, they're wanting to grow, but they need some more soil. Ooh, I need to clean you out. Ficus did the thing that ficus do. And you move them around and they go, oh no, you moved me. Let me drop all my leaves all over the place. I bought pretzels. My older sister loves the wheel-shaped pretzels from Utz. Oh, they don't sell them where she lives. So I went ahead and I grabbed a couple bags of those for her. It's like a welcome gift. Welcome home. Enjoy some carbs and sodium. Better. There's still a few down there. Okay. This ficus is one of the ones from Proven Winners. One that Proven Winners has slapped their name on, I should say. They're calling it Klingon Anastasia. And you can see the variegation in that picture. It's so pretty. It's a green on green, which I really like. Not seeing a ton of that in this plant, though. There's some down here. I'm hoping that with more light, hopefully that will come out. Typically, if you want variegation on a plant, then you should buy it with variegation. Unless it's an immature plant that has to grow into the variegation. But if you're picking something out and it's supposed to already have the variegation, find one with the variegation that you really, really like. Because sometimes that's how it holds true for the remainder of the plant. But I don't know, I just like that subtle. It's a very subtle variegation. I enjoy that. I think that this guy's all that's left. Just another poinsettia that I don't know the name of, but it's a pink variegation with a red outline. It's very pretty. Oh, there's one more of those up here with the snowman up on top of the grandfather clock. Okay, on to the grow space. I know your fish are there. How fun. You get to watch your fish. What are they doing? What are your fish doing, Turbo? Somebody got mad at me for keeping fish inside this tube and said it was inhumane. These are plastic. Those are not real fish. There's not a world where you can keep jellyfish and clownfish in captivity in the same... It wouldn't work very well. I guess you could with like the mangroves upside down jellyfish types. You could keep clowns in a creasel with your jellyfish. I just don't think it'd be very smart for water quality issues and for the longevity of your clownfish. But regardless, these are plastic. Those are toys. That's not a real fish. And believe it or not, that's not a real sea turtle either. They're just toys. It's fine. The dog enjoys them very much. Out here, well, things are going as they should be. I'm probably going to need to do some watering while I'm out here. Today is the day when I usually have to do a good amount of watering. I mostly spot water throughout the week, and then about once every 2 weeks I have to go in and do a pretty heavy drench. See what's the basils? Look at that. Look at it. I just watered that 2 days ago. Well, may as well walk in water. I have been making it a daily habit at this point to come out here and do my pest checks, which is pretty much just looking for aphids, spider mites, mealybug, scale, that sort of thing. And I carry around my bottle of this stuff right here, the Insecticide Super Soap. I love that stuff. The Insecticide Super Soap is so nice because it actually sticks to the foliage. I saw something that looked like it's probably spider mites over here on alocasia that I'll show you in just a moment. And it's nice because typically when you spray an alocasia, whatever you're spraying just pops right off if you don't use some kind of sticker. And, you know, I don't always have time to mix up a fresh batch of whatever I'm using on the insects and then put a sticker on it, right? But when you have that Super Soap stuff, it's nice and sticky, and it has been working out wonderfully for pest control on those plants because, well, it's nice and sticky. This is how I water this time of year. I don't have the temps up very high, so I'm really just giving things a drink. Not the basils, the things in the smaller pots get a really heavy soak, but it's just enough into these containers to do a nice flush through. You know, see these basils. It's just ridiculous the amount of water I've needed to give them. So much water. I also have more airflow to this shelf than I used to because I have this fan going, which I do think is helping with keeping some pests under control. But that airflow also means I have to water an awful lot more. But it doesn't take long to water out here, especially when I'm using the pond water, which is what I'm doing right now. It goes fairly quickly. I know that basil, it looks so sad, but it'll look great here in a few hours. If not in a few hours, then tomorrow. Hey, Spider. How you doing, bud? Where are you going? What's the plan? Go. I don't water the back of the shelf. When I do, it's just a quick spritz, and that's it, because the back of the shelf are the mangaves and agaves. They don't need really big, heavy drinks, right? They just need a little bit of moisture around them, if even that, and they stay looking good. The begonias that I moved in a couple weeks ago, the ones from Southern Living, they are doing wonderfully on this bottom shelf. Look at all the flowers. Look at them. They're so happy. Should not let the water hit the top of the leaves like that while they're in here, but they'll be okay. Quick drink for the pack of stackies, who is loving life in the grow space. Just doing great, as is the Scindapsus back here. I mean, look at these guys. Look at that color. I think these guys are liking the new lights that I put up. These are normal shop lights that I put LED grow bulbs in, but I also have a spider farmer in here, and that spider farmer, man, they're really responding to that. Make sure the coconut gets a small drink. Coconut palms don't ever need a big drink during the winter time. Just don't want to dry them out too much, but also don't want to keep them all that wet either. They're so prone to rotting. Alocasias, pushing out some growth. These were dug up from the garden a couple months ago and brought inside for the winter time. Not getting anything out of this one though, but well, there's some movement. It's just taking that one a little bit longer. I don't really care. I'm not trying to have these things grow into giant behemoth plants while they're in the growth space. They just need to stay alive. That's the goal. Just keep them alive until it's time to bring them outside and they can start doing their thing outside. Last year, they flourished in here, and I was having to walk around these giant, 8-foot by 4-foot leaves every day, and that wasn't working for me. The mule palm, well, there it is. It takes up an awful lot of space, and man, does this thing take a ton of water. It takes a lot of water, and this is actually probably going to take me a couple minutes to water this guy in. So I'll come back when I'm done with that. Oh, there's a new leaf on the Monstera. We can walk around the other side and get a good look at that one. A few more things to water. Hibiscus. Got a nice flower on there. I'm going to pull that off. Give that to the iguana. These guys shouldn't be that thirsty, but they can have a small drink since I'm over here. May as well. It's always so hard to find the pot on the freckles. I feel like I'm wasting water. Where's the middle? Where's your center? That's why I don't like having plants placed in front of each other like I had to do in this spot. And that goes back to what I was talking about with potentially moving a few other plants out. So this shelf over here where the coconut palms are, that also has all the spindle palms. Those don't really need to be there. And the coconut palms would really like to have that extra airflow of not having too many plants piled around them. So I might just move those out. I think if I were to leave them, they would be fine. I would just have to deal with more brown foliage this spring than normal, but they would still be okay. Just not, quite as attractive as I might prefer. I'm doing my best to make sure that these tepelitos never dry out right now because they have some really pretty inflorescence on them. So come over here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right there. See that? That green stalk? There's 2 on each one of these. And when those open up, it is so pretty. It's a really bright orange seed head, flower bract, and I would just hate for it to die back. But last year, they kept blasting on me because it was just hard to keep the temperatures regular in here. But I think that they're going to be okay this year. This one got repotted, this one right here, and I think it appreciated that. So I could probably bump this one to a new container too when I do my repots, and I won't have to water it quite as much. Yeah, so here are the coconuts right here. Pardon the background noise from the heater. They were good here last year, but coconuts are just always so hit or miss, and I just get so nervous with them during the winter, but I put them right where they were last year. The only difference is they also now have a wall of spindle palms behind them. I just don't know about that. This one was here last year. I don't expect much growth out of this one. It usually just holds still all winter long, even though it does have its own set of grow lights right here. Still probably won't do much. And then here are the spindles. And like I said, the spindles, they can take the cold. So I could very easily just take a couple of them and move those to that greenhouse. I think that they would be okay. I also have that, what is it, a bamboo palm back there that I think would be fine to go out there. And that would just allow some more airflow in here and make it easier to get in here to access these guys to water them too. Just something I've been thinking about. My goodness, you lost a lot of soil. Amazing how that happens. Areca palms, just doing its thing, looking great. Always is. Should we take a moment to appreciate the spindle while we're at it? It's dark, I know, but look at that trunk. They're just so stinking cute. Oh, see this? Yeah, I don't cut that off. Here's the deal. With a palm and a lot of monopodial plants, just plants in general, if they're evergreen, they're not deciduous, I don't want to prune on them if I don't have to. These are going to pull. So all this frond is in the process of pulling its nutrients back to the plant so it will shed that leaf. And that's what's going on right now. I'm not going to cut that. It may not look very attractive, but I don't cut it because it's still pulling those nutrients in. And if I cut it before it's brown, I'm just opening up the entire system of this plant to pathogens. And in fact, why would I do that? Other than aesthetics. That's not proper plant care as far as I'm concerned. But, people do what they want to do for their aesthetics. But for the people who like to yell at me in the comments about brown foliage on my plants, sorry, it's not proper plant care to cut these things off before it's time to cut them off. I know it doesn't look very good, but it's just the way it is. The Gossia palms, they are slow to pull back and brown off. So, just have to be patient. And when this is brown, then I will cut it off, right? Yeah. So this one right here, this one I did a partial cut on because it was brown all the way to about this point, and I cut that off. There was still some green on this right here. That's about, I'd say, a week ago. I could go ahead and cut the rest of that now because there's no green left on it. There's a little bit of green there. So I want to cut above the green and into the brown. And there's another one back here that looks like it's about done. You can see that one right here. I don't see any green left on that one. So I could cut that one out. Are you done? It's still soft. I don't want to cut it if it's still soft. That means it's still pulling from that plant. The back wall over here are plants that tend to be either very large or more low maintenance and plants that can take some cold. So these garage doors that are over here, these do get open. We go through them, even if it's, like 15, 20 degrees outside. But that heater in here keeps things warm enough that as long as it's not up for too terribly long, it doesn't drop the temperature in here all that much. It has never hurt the plants, but I like to make sure I don't have anything super tender over here. Like I wouldn't want the coconuts right here, right? The bromeliads, they can take some cold. The Tomatophyllum, Bipinnatifidum, used to be a philodendron, so that can take some cold. The hibiscus, same thing. Have a Washingtonia over here.
it's not going to mind. Same with the bamboo palms. And then moving down here, I have another windmill palm, which I can move back outside, and the brugmansias and the rest of the bamboo palms. They're near that door because if it gets drafty, if it's really windy, they can handle it. And the cordylan, I gotta look at these flowers. This guy is so stinking happy. The Fruticosta, this is a harlequin. And these normally are mealybug magnets for me during the winter, which is why I wasn't going to bring it in. But then last fall when I was getting plants prepped to bring inside, I thought, well, you know what I should do? Is go ahead and repot this a few weeks before it's time to move it in. Hit it with a root stimulator. And then a few weeks later, just give this thing all the systemic that I can. Let the mealybugs come to it. And see if that might actually help with the mealybug problem by having, you know, like a, what's that called? Like a bug light, essentially. It'll draw them in. They'll take little bites and die, maybe. I don't know. We will see. So in a way, it's going to be a sacrificial plant, but not really, because as long as I keep reapplying that systemic, I think it's going to be okay. I'm actually not even seeing any mealybugs on it, which is really, really, really surprising. But normally the mealybugs don't become a big problem out here until like February into April. Then all of a sudden it's just boom, pests everywhere. I'll be like, oh, the pests have been so mild. Then February into April, it's just an explosion. And that's when things get to be more obnoxious. But I think that using the sticky soaps and even just making sure to incorporate a sticker into whatever sprays I'm using, that is going to help a lot. The problem is any plants that are near the water over here, well, I don't spray those because there's fish in there. And the fish wouldn't do well with that, right? So I have to be mindful of that, which is why I was like, well, let's do a systemic in here and stay on top of that and just, you know, see if that works. I rarely have luck with systemics and mealybugs, but, you know, I figured just keep the notes in my phone going and I can stay on top of it. Although this has systemics in it and I see aphids all over this thing, so yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go ahead and say the systemics aren't working because there's aphids on here. So, never mind. Guess the mealybugs just haven't showed up yet. Okay, let's try and get a better look at the leaf on this Monstera. I can't... I lost my sunglasses. That's great. They fell right into the puddle. There we go. This Deliciosa Thai constellation. It is so freaking tall. I've been working for about 1.5 years now on tightening up the stem on this. It was growing, as these things do. It was wanting to crawl out this direction. I was like, no, I need you to go this way. And sometimes people will build very elaborate structures with 2x4s. I will do that someday if I have to, but I think it looks terrible. So I have a PVC pipe that I screwed into the bottom of this container onto a plate. And I have been using this string and just very slowly every couple months tightening it up a little bit more since it was all the way out here and bringing it further and further up as to not snap the stem. However, I think I could chop the stem on this guy and restart it down lower. I'll probably do that in the spring. But regardless of that, it's been doing wonderfully. And I can barely reach that leaf. Can barely get to it. It's looking good though. That's a lot of white. I don't get those big patches of variegation on the Thai constellations very often. That right there is probably one of the biggest patches I've ever had. That is definitely the biggest patch of variegation I've ever had on a Thai. Normally I'm just getting lots of little specks. But that's something else. And this leaf just opened about 1 week or 2 ago, so it's going to continue to grow and get bigger. You can see that leaf right there. That's a good, I'd say 36 to 40 inches on that one, so it should do that. But sometimes the foliage that I get on these during the wintertime isn't quite as big as it is when I have them outside. Well, I just have to wait and see. The brugmansias, they're just chilling. They only get a tiny bit of water. Most of the water that these get during the wintertime is going to be water that washes through on the ground. And they'll wick it up, and that's going to be about it. And over here I have some more plants waiting that I think I'm going to move out to that greenhouse. So Washingtonia and another bamboo palm. I don't know. I'll probably wait till this video comes out and see what your guys' thoughts are. Or not. I might just start moving some, and I can bring them back in if you guys think it's a bad idea. I think it's worth trying. It's just things feel so much more scary and unpredictable in that greenhouse because it's just a thin piece of plastic. And it would take, you know, one strong gust of wind and boom, everything's dead. Or one very heavy wet snowstorm, boom, everything's dead. However, I think I have the temperature up warm enough in that greenhouse now that snow should melt off of the roof. I may even throw some heat cables up there just so I can sleep better at nighttime if we're supposed to have a snowstorm. We had so much snow this fall that it wouldn't shock me just because it's the way it usually works out if we have like no snow for the rest of the winter and it's totally mild and a beautiful, calm winter where I could have had all kinds of things outdoors a lot. We need to go on all that. That's just usually how it works. But if winter is going to be worse than fall, which is typically the way weather works, then that means this winter, which it will officially be winter tomorrow, or for y'all a week ago, it's going to be a nasty one. We will see. I don't know. The Robolini may go out to that greenhouse too, because they can take a good amount of cold also, as long as it's not sopping wet, right? And I think the Robolini would probably... It's doing shockingly well right here, which I don't understand. The plants that I have in this corner right here are plants that we're going to go into the house after the holidays, so they're not getting a ton of light right now. They're just hanging out in this corner, but they're somehow doing very well. I don't really understand that, and I wouldn't expect it to last very long. I think that that's probably just reserve energy from before I move them in that's pushing out their new growth, but in order to continue with that momentum, they would need supplemental lighting, and there's not a ton of that right here in this specific corner. Yeah, I don't have a lot going out here right now. I tend to not really get going on any plant projects in the grow space other than my morning routine of walking around with my spray and staying on top of watering, pruning, try and do that just whenever I see something that needs to be pruned. And about once a week or so, I pull the plants aside, open the doors, and grab a blower and blow everything out. The floor will never look clean right here, not until I put down a new one. I'm not going to do that anytime soon. So this is just styrofoam insulation. It's to provide a barrier between the bottoms of the containers and the concrete, because that concrete will just pull any warmth out of those pots. But the problem with that is the foil wears off on the styrofoam and it starts to look junky. But it's still styrofoam. It's still serving its purpose. I know it doesn't look pretty, but it just is what it is. I think of this room more as a place of utility. Monstera fell down. Oh, that's a little leaf there. This is a space that I think of as a space for utility, as I just said, and a place where I'm trying to keep things growing and moving for my landscape. This is not a setup that I know plenty of plant people have on YouTube where you have a beautiful wall full of plants and we're just going to talk about a different plant all the time. I'm more into the projects, into the gardening, and these are things that go in my garden. This is the storage room for everything, where I want to keep it alive. I'll bring in new plants later in the winter, things that I'll want in the gardens this summer, and some propagations and things as well. Probably be dividing up the xanthosomas and whatnots, but I try and keep it practical more so than, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I just love seeing all my plants together. But yeah, there's going to be some brown leaves sometimes, because sometimes that's what proper care calls for with the plant. There'll be dirt on the ground. This is a working room where I'm always moving things around and planting things. Like I said, I blow things out as long as I can open those doors. I blow it out at least once a week. If there's a big mess, then I just do it right away and clean it up. I don't want to attract dirt in the house. But yeah, I think it came out nicely this year. I like the way things are looking. Those begonias were a last-minute decision. We'll see how those do. For annuals, I thought I'd bring them in. I was like, why not? I'll just hang them from the ceiling and see what they do. Even if they lose all their foliage, you give them a good amount of sun in the spring and some fresh soil, they should pop out and be beautiful plants come early summer to have out in the garden. Yeah, and I do try and make this look nice for filming videos, so y'all have something that's nice to look at, right? I think the view's pretty good, but it's also set up in a way that's makes sense for me. Plants that need similar care are grouped together. Plants that want things more on the dry side, I keep either out of reach, like the mangaves on that bottom shelf. They're way far out of reach. Or I have the more tropical type agaves right here that I keep towards the front so that they're not getting splattered with water too much while I'm watering things in the center of the table. Also wouldn't want a plant that is so short in the middle of the table too, right? So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You're not seeing anything all that new out here unless you only watch the tours, in which case, welcome. Here's some new stuff. Sorry if I got defensive. I meant that mostly in jest and, lightheartedly. But for real, though, this isn't a place that I've set up to look perfect all the time. This is a place that's meant to keep the plants healthy and alive. Sometimes it may look messy, but sometimes that's just the way it's going to be, because I'm waiting for a frond to brown out. And hopefully you can survive with that, and if not, then you should probably find a different channel to watch. One who has more of a Chippin', Joanna Gaines, and beige vibe would probably suit you well. You do things different over here, right? Very, very, very different. Got some new growth over here on the cactus that got planted up in a video last winter. A lot of new growth, actually. It's got 2 new balls. Look at that. Whole new set of balls up top. Anthurium, by the way. Look at it. Loving life in the grow space. I am so happy with how that Anthurium is doing out here this year. Looks really nice. I just love them. It's getting just the right amount of light. I was worried about the airflow in that spot, but it's not bothering it. And it's just been pushing out new foliage left and right. And this is several feet from its grow light, right? That grow light's all the way up there, so I'm surprised by that. But I'm not mad about it either. You just go ahead and keep doing that. And the orchids, man, they are thriving. Add these Phalaenopsis over here along the edge of the water. They're loving life. Got 2 new spikes out of this one. Well, 1 new spike and then 1 spike that's regenerating, or generating some new flowers on it. And then this guy down here, it also has some spikes coming up from it. Again, I was worried about those because the airflow, when I'm referring to airflow, I'm referring to the heater up here that's blowing hot, dry air down into this vicinity. But shockingly, it does not seem to be bothering them. I have been thinking about getting back into Vandaceous orchids. I used to grow a whole bunch of them. Let me explain. Vandaceous orchids are a type of orchid that usually grow on like a metal hanger, like this up here. And their roots actually look similar to this, but more tube shaped. They're really long. They drape down. You don't use any type of soil media with them. They don't need to have a bark or anything like that around their root. And they have a really cool alternating long strappy leaf. And then they have big, beautiful flowers on them. Some of them will bloom 3, even 4 times a year for you. I had to get away from those when, well, 2020, there was just a lot of stuff that went down, as we all know, in 2020. I had some health issues, a little bout of cancer. Everything's fine now. But family members and friends had to take over the plant care. And I was like, don't worry about those orchids. They're too much. It's just, you guys are doing great. I wasn't going to throw a fit about losing some plants. I said, let's just don't worry about those Vandaceous orchids because they're a high maintenance orchid. If you don't live someplace with a lot of humidity, you have to water them basically every single day. And not just to water, they need a good soak. I used to have a pulley system set up here where I had them all hanging up above the pond, and I would lower that pulley down into the water every single day for like 10-15 minutes and pull it back up. And that's what I had to do for them. But then I switched over to this new heating method, which is much better for the grow space than what I used to do, but it has to blow. The only place that heater could go is right there, and it's going to blow right on where I kept those Vandaceous orchids. But I'm seeing now how well these orchids are doing right alongside this water here. With that heat blowing, the anthurium, also a plant that would show signs of being dried out very, very quickly. It seems okay. So I don't know. I might go ahead if I see some for sale, which is very unlikely. Nobody sells Vanda orchids around here. But I might go ahead and grab, you know, something that's more tried and true. One of the purples or something like that I know is just a sturdy Vanda orchid. And see about maybe, you know, just a couple, seeing how they do out here. So I got the bromeliad back there. It's doing great. These guys, I have some phals that are sitting on top of my fridge over by the door, and their roots are nice and green. I haven't watered them in weeks. That's a good sign, right? So, something I'm thinking about. I added all of these rocks to this waterfall this year. That was for a couple of reasons. I did that one to help reduce noise for when I'm filming. It's a more peaceful, flowy sound. But ultimately, I put these in here because those are helping with humidity. Wet rocks and air makes for humid air. Working out great. And this down here, this trough that has the carbon filter pads on top of it, also full of rocks. And that's really helping a lot with the humidity. Humidity doesn't usually become a big problem until January and February when it's like 5 degrees outside Fahrenheit for days and days on end and that heater's having to run a bunch. And I think a solution to that would be to just not run the heater as often. Or just turn it to a lower temp and be like, all right, well, if it's 5 degrees outside, then let's aim for just keeping things around 60 in here instead of having it up around 80. Everything in here can handle several days to even a few weeks. At 60, they'd be fine. I've always been nervous about doing things that way because I like to have a higher gap. If for some reason there were to be a power outage, I want a big, broad gap between... That's not the way to describe it. I want it really hot in here. If it were to get cold outside and then we lose power, I want it to have to go from 80 to 30. That's going to take a lot longer than going from 60 to 30. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to go from anything to 30, but do you get it? Needs some more leeway. So that's why I usually try and keep things warmer in here, as long as I can keep the humidity up. If I can't keep the humidity up, then I don't want things warmer. So you have to think about your VPD and plant growth, right? That's a whole different thing. I've talked about it before. Nobody cared. Nobody watched that video, so I'm not going to explain it now. Terrariums are doing well. Have those Brenna grow lights up there, keeping things nice and happy. That was a last minute thing. I realized that I forgot to talk about those. So there you go. There's the terrariums. Oh, look at the middle of this Neoregelia. I love that. That's so freaking cool looking, isn't it? Awesome plants. Really, really awesome. Silver Lady Fern. I have struggled with these in the past, done videos on them. Self-watering container has been a game changer. I will never grow one of these ever again without a self-watering container because these are divas. They do not want to dry out. This will be the first winter I've tried one of those ferns inside with a self-watering container. So we will see. Hopefully it'll do well. I don't know if y'all can tell because it's been several minutes in the video since I moved those spindle palms. You see how much more light there is in there now? From pulling that one spindle palm out and scooting that other one over, there's now airflow. Oh, I can even see now that the Vinca have buds on them, which is surprising. That was just a total roll of the dice bringing those, and I was like, we'll see how those do. They seem okay, and this is even a Blueforia mandevilla. And I don't know, can we come around to their buds? Yeah, I think those are buds, potentially. It's actually done a good amount of growing. You can see the branch right here. The stem, the further it goes out over the water, the more it's struggling. That's because this is in that zone right here where that dry air comes down. Shocked that the elephant ear does well. It doesn't do that well. It gets spider mites on it, and I can't do anything about it because it's in the middle of the pond. But, I don't know. I guess I could cut it back when that happens and just wipe it down really well. Maybe methylene blue. Methylene blue works on a lot of invertebrates. I could try that. Like for the eggs, right? I don't know. Copper. Copper works really well for aquatic invertebrates. As far as, like, killing things. The fish in here can handle copper. You just want to slowly introduce it into the water. I don't know. It wouldn't take much. I would use the water with the copper on it and wipe them down. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. If we get there. It'll be fine. Well, we're there. I think I see spider mites on that one. It's hard to tell. I need to get a new magnifying glass. There's no webbing. I think that might just be a dusty leaf. Because typically I'd be seeing them on the newer foliage. You can see these get spots on them sometimes. They get attacked by critters. They're in the middle of the pond, so there's just not a lot of maintenance I can do on them. I was out shopping for my niece and nephew for Christmas, and I bought myself a disco ball to hang up there. It's the end of that story. So yeah, anyways, that's how everything's doing out here. The plants are looking good. I'm getting some happy results from things. A lot of these have been in here now for a couple months. I moved the plants in very early this year because I was traveling in October, so I thought, you know what, let's just move them in. I usually don't move things in until I absolutely have to in November. Sometimes that's October. This year I did it about probably a month before I needed to. Maybe a month and a half before I needed to move them in. But in a way that's been good because it's given me more time to just set things up the way I really want them to be set up. Although I haven't moved anything in quite a while because I like the way they ended up being arranged in here. I didn't have to do a mad dash rush. That's typically how it goes because I just watch the forecast, make sure that the grow space is ready in the fall. And if it's showing frost, I go, okay, it's time. And I move them in. Didn't have to do that this year, which was really nice. You know, planned really far ahead and got everything done. It's given me time to come in and clean things up as needed and everything. I don't do a ton of fertilizing during the winter. Sometimes I'll hit things with a continuous hit. That's liquid terminology there. But sometimes I might mix in a continuous release. But there's a lot of nutrients that they're getting from this water in here with the fish that are in there. So it's not something I normally have to mess with. Yeah, things become fairly low maintenance right around now because everything has had a chance to adjust. If they were going to drop leaves, they've dropped them by now, and they're starting to push out new growth, so it just becomes a matter of keeping the old growth cleaned out as the new growth comes in, and then paying attention to things that need to be repotted. So like I said, moving forward into January, I'm going to want to do a few repots, that's for sure. Probably going to relocate that aloe, because I don't know if that should be on that shelf. They do not want to be moist. This is a Safari Rose, I think. Aloe? Is that what it's called? I'm not sure. Maybe. Well, they don't want moisture, and this shelf is pretty moist. I'm going to have to move that. Oh, the Ligularia. Look at that. Right there, Firefly Ligularia. There should have been a video, I don't know if it will be out yet or not, where it's called Tending to Tired Plants. Some plants that I didn't realize I had left out. Moved them in, cut them back, and started them over. That's one of them. Wasn't looking too hot, but it's been about 3 weeks. It's flushed out with new growth. I think it's looking pretty good now. Kale lily's not dying back. That's okay. It doesn't have to. I think it'd be good if it did, though. It'd free up that shelf space. It doesn't have the kale lily sitting on it. Probably do some propagations in January and February. So I'm going to want to divide some things up and thin the herd. There's going to be some plants, a lot of plants that are going to get moved into the house as house plants once all the holiday decor is put away and that will make room for the things that, well, I want to have in the house, like some ferns, some ficus, and, you know, the palms that are over there. Oh, the other anthurium, which is tucked much further back. I wasn't sure about putting this back there because I was like, that's going to be pretty out of reach. That's a hard spot to get to. I only want tough plants like the philodendron and this bromeliad back there because it's so hard to get to things, or things that are plastic, like this Lego Bird of Paradise. But it seems to be very happy. It's pushing out new growth. It's been flowering. I love the flowers with that. It's a really nice deep pink. I actually, oh my gosh, I forgot there's a pink flamingo there. And that's a few feet away from any of the grow lights. That seems happy. That's just a really pretty spot, isn't it? The anthurium with the croton and the dracaena and the palm frond and that ficus elastica back there. If that flower were just like 3 inches taller and there were a couple more of them, this would be a very pretty picture. I would print this out, even with the plastic Legos in it. I like that spot. Okay, that's enough rambling. Hope everybody's doing well and had a wonderful holiday. New Year's coming up, so hopefully that's going to be fun for you. I have videos that'll be out between now and then, but I filmed them weeks ago, so I won't be wishing anybody a Happy New Year in them, probably. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and, you know, all the holidays. Hope that you've been enjoying whatever holidays you've been celebrating or not celebrating, that life is just going great for you. All right. And, of course, as always, and most importantly, everybody, keep on growing. Bye-bye.